لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله ما لنا رب.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Gadban. I am the ex-president of the Ottawa Muslim Association. I would like to welcome all of you here. We have some dignitaries. We have Jeff Leeper, City Councillor. Catherine, I believe, McKenna is over here. Welcome. Also, we have a couple of brothers from a different faith. Welcome. This house is your house just as much as mine. We are here for a special evening tonight, and I would like to welcome you all to this event. All the tragic stuff that happened on the other part of the world. We also have with us Martin from New Zealand and a few of his colleagues here to join in on this sad occasion here. So I'm going to transfer over the microphone to our interim imam, Majid. Okay, so Majid, you want to read some of these? Or, okay. We were, just before we get started, we've received a few cards, flowers, good gestures from all our neighborhood friends and families, and they are mourning our sorrow also, because as you know, we're all brothers and sisters on this earth, so it doesn't matter what you believe in or who you believe in, but we all are all the same. So if one family gets hurt, we all get hurt. So it happened, unfortunately, on the other side. A couple of years ago, we faced it in Quebec City. I was one of the group that went to the actual funeral in Montreal for those 7 individuals, and everybody there wasn't a dry eye in that arena that day. So unfortunately, I believe it's probably the same thing down in Christchurch, New Zealand. They have a huge task in front of them. On behalf of the Ottawa Muslim Association, I want to send them our thanks to our brothers and sisters that were basically slaughtered during time of prayer.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. As Jazakumullah khair, and thank you, Brother Muhammad, for the introduction. God says in the Quran, أن من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا. That those who shed the blood of a single innocent life that has done no harm, that they have killed them with no justice, it is equal as an heinous crime as they have murdered all of humanity. And those who have saved one life, it is equal as if they have saved all of humanity. I begin by thanking you all for coming here. This is truly difficult times, and we would have wished to have had this gathering without having these tragic events. But one of the good things that we come out of these events is that they bring us closer, and they help us stand united and help us move forward together. In my Friday sermon, I said one of the key points that we needed to emphasize as a duty as Muslims is that we need to reach out and comfort our neighbors of Christian and Jewish and other faiths, that we do not believe that these people who have committed these acts were speaking on behalf of these religions. We don't believe that when somebody attacks Muslims, that is representative in any way of Christianity or Judaism, or that act is representative in any way by Christians or Jews anywhere in the world. And that is a duty upon us as Muslims to go and stand together and defend these faiths together and put off the fire before it starts. The concept of firefighting is often mentioned in many stories related to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, linking the devil to the fire and putting off these social tribulations before they start. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَالسَّيِّئَةُ وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةُ ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم وما يلقاها إلا الذين صبروا وما يلقاها إلا ذو حظ عظيم. That no good deed can be equal to a bad deed. Push back any evil action with that act that is the best, and all of a sudden you will find those whom you have who have enmity against you as close as your best allies. And this trait of perseverance is not granted easily. God says this trait is not granted except to those who severely are patient, who are patient continuously. And this trait is not granted except for those of great fortune. And so we take this as, again, I would like to reiterate how thankful and grateful we are for your attendance and for your support. And these messages are nothing. I looked at our Facebook page in the last 48 hours. We have 72,000 comments and messages that we have received. There's no way on earth or any of us can finish replying to each one of them. But thank you all. And you can actually go to our Facebook page and scroll for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages of support from all over the world. This our message. We had a human chain forming on Friday prayer just before the prayer was starting, and a lot of messages of support. And we posted a picture of it, and that was shared, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 times on social media, and it went viral from there. And since then, we have non-stop been receiving the flowers. The masjid is overwhelmed with the amount of flowers. Alhamdulillah, it's giving us a smell of spring as it's coming. This is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. I wish I can show you. There's a lot of visual illustrations. There's a lot of beautiful messages written from different ages and in different languages. We're getting them from all over the world. So jazakumullahu khairan. May Allah reward you. Thank you so much for all of this support. Now, moving forward, the purpose of this event is that we want to, we thought that this would be a good time to host this so that we can actually see each other and support each other. We've received messages from scared Muslims. We've received, unfortunately, messages from people urging us to lock our doors, to install passwords or key fobs, or to cancel prayers out of fear. We should not succumb to this. This will not be the best solution to go out. I've done a master's degree in electrical engineering, and part of my expertise was security networks and our network security. And the concept, the philosophy of security proliferation is a very dangerous concept. When you think that just because you have been attacked or because you're afraid, you're going to invest so much in your security infrastructure, thinking that that alone can bring safety. Of course, we do have, alhamdulillah, since the Quebec shooting, or even before it, we have upgraded our security infrastructure. There was special thanks to the federal government of Canada. They have a grant for minority places of worship to upgrade their security infrastructure. We have installed cameras. We have an emergency plan that the board implies. We have direct contacts with members of the police, with members of the RCMP, in case something happens, God forbid. But in the same time, we have to persevere. Yesterday we had ILEAD, beautiful annual conference. This is the 6th year, I believe, that they're doing for all the United Muslim Organizations of Ottawa, Gatineau have been holding it. And the concept was the art of perseverance. We have to show strength even when it hurts, even when it's difficult, even in those dark days, we have to show that we can stand up and continue. That is the message that can make these people, those terrorists, feel that they have lost their game, that there's no point on them trying. If they see that these attacks do not affect us, they will not deter us from our houses of worship. They will not deter us from our prayers or from coming to the Saturday or Sunday schools. These actions can never draw us distant from our Creator. So thank you again. And I would like to take the opportunity now to open the mic for those who want to share either thoughts or emotions or pastor support or share stories that they have. We have members, I believe, from New Zealand. Martin is here, yes, I believe.
G'day, as the New Zealanders would put it. I belong to a relatively small group of New Zealanders in Ottawa. We loosely joined on Facebook, so I don't want to pretend to speak for a community that hasn't elected a leader, but I come from Christchurch. Christchurch is where I was born. I lived there till I was 27 before I moved here to Canada. I have been to that mosque more than once. They were a critical piece of our community in New Zealand, in Christchurch. They were a focal point of interfaith dialogue, just as you're having here today. I note that the Bangladesh cricket team was there for prayer, which speaks to the intersectional hub that mosque formed. The last time I was there was some time ago. It was 2009, and it was an open house, welcoming event. I distinctly remember approaching the doors. There were a small gathering of women instructing me on where to put my shoes and directing me towards tea and coffee. And it was the sort of area where people would just be and join and congregate. On Thursday night, because of the time difference between New Zealand and Canada, the evening is normally when I'll catch up with the people in New Zealand before I go to bed. They live their day, and then I like to think they catch up with me when they wake up. But and I got the message that there was a lockdown. One of my friends at the university was in lockdown, which is a very unusual thing in New Zealand. It was, and hopefully will remain, a country where the police were not armed. It had lived at the bottom of the world, isolated, separated from progressive and modern, but isolated. This was the sort of thing that happened everywhere else. It happened in the United States, it happened in Canada, it happened in Europe. It didn't happen in New Zealand. As a consequence, even as the messages were coming in, the chaos didn't lend itself towards this is the horrific act that it was. New Zealand, as I said on Friday, is going to and is starting to face some of the ugly blemishes that are everywhere. And Christchurch was no alien to them. They are present here, they are present everywhere. And I'm sure everybody has noted our Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, who, if there was ever a person I would like to emulate in the modern world right now, she is one of the most inspirational people I've ever had the fortune of following. She has expressed it as best as we can, which is that New Zealand will react. We are facing our little pockets of unpleasantness. I won't speak names or power to people that we could mention, but we will focus on these pieces. We will root them out. We will bring them back into the fold where we can, and we will hopefully remain the peace-loving country that we tried to be. That all being said, I mentioned on Friday, and I'll say it here again, there's an expression in Māori, which is the native language of New Zealand. They would say kia kaha. Kia kaha is an expression, it literally translates to stand strong. Its meaning is one of, I see you. I see what you're going through. I see the difficulties that you're going through. I support you. You can take support from me. And in the message I wrote on Thursday, the Māori word for love is aroha. And to that end, in the note I mentioned, the New Zealand community on Facebook expressed that to kia kaha to the community here, with all of the aroha that we have and that we can muster. I dedicated on Friday that that would not be the last time you will see me, and it will not be the last time you see me today. And going forward, we will work together to make sure that these things are, to our best abilities, prevented in the future. So I don't know what else to say other than that.
Thank you very much. Please, we can bring you a mic to you if you want. Yes.
We match the socks.
Nice.
Imam and brothers and sisters, my name is Michael Paulo and I'm the Vice Chair of the Jewish Federation of Ottawa. I am the child of immigrants. As I look around this room, there are many of us who are the same. And we all think of each other as the children of Abraham. We are brothers and we are sisters. Imam, I was inspired when you said, you spoke of not closing schools and not closing mosques. After my community suffered the heinous attack in Pittsburgh in the fall, we had, in our synagogues, we had solidarity Shabbats where more people than usual turned up, and we were joined by members of Ottawa's Muslim community, for which we were grateful. And I'm here today with Andrea Friedman, who is the President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Ottawa. I wish we didn't have to return the gesture, but I'm not going to try a Maori word, but I will wish that you stay strong, that we remain brothers and sisters, and as we say on sad occasions, on better occasions. And I wish you salam alaikum, or as we say, shalom aleichem. It's the same thing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have the mic now. Didn't drop this time. No? It's right here, alhamdulillah. And we can move it around, inshallah. So with a show of hands, whoever wants, from most extrovert to least extrovert, we can. Anyone who would like to share a message or share their feelings.
Thank you. I was one of the members that did go to the synagogue. Although it's nice to have the interfaith connections, it is not the type of visits that we want to have with each other. I didn't prepare a speech, but what I do want to say is that anti-Semitism and Islamophobia do exist. I think as a whole, we need to persevere. As the Imam said, we have to be vigilant, and we need to speak with our political leaders and community leaders to ensure that these things do not continue to happen. And I think the only way of doing that is building bridges and education. We need to get to the root of the problems and, as the Imam said, to extinguish the fire before it actually ignites. So I think together we need to do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
We have a saying by the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is that مثل المؤمنين في توادهم وتراحمهم وتعاطفهم كمثل الجسد الواحد إذا اشتكى منه عضو تداعى له سائر الجسد بالسهر والحمى. The example of the believers in their affection to one another, and their mercy to one another, and their empathy to one another is like the example of a single body. If a single organ is suffering or injured, the entire body will care for it with insomnia and with fever. The hadith is narrated in Bukhari, one of the most authentic hadiths narrated to the Prophet ﷺ by Nu'man ibn Bashir radiyallahu anh. A very powerful message, the analogy that we are like one body, and when one member of the community hurts, we all hurt, and we all suffer together. This is part of our nature. It's not that it's something that we choose to show condolences or choose to show empathy. It is something that's part of who we are and what we need to do. The Masjid Jazahumullahu Khairan, may God bless them, started a fundraiser to help the victims. There are several fundraisers that we know are connected. The one I personally know, my brother Chris Abdurrahman, started in the US, in Chicago. It's now reached $1.9 million in the last 24 hours, and they're still raising funds. There's another one that Ustad Ghadban just mentioned. $4 million is in Europe, right? It's in New Zealand, yes. That reached $4 million. This is, money cannot replace. I've lived through 3 wars myself. I grew up, I'm half Palestinian, half Iraqi. Didn't get the good side of either family in terms of social justice, but I grew up witnessing a lot of wars. And I know that reconciliation effort is very difficult, and is that while money will never replace those ones that were lost. I actually have one of my uncles who migrated from Iraq and is in New Zealand now. His son is a dentist in Christchurch, and he was actually there at the mosque within hours of the attack to go and help with the victims, and he's one of the people who's helping with the fundraiser that Martin spoke about. It's very difficult to see this happening, but this is the least that we can do from our end, is to try to raise some funds to send them over to them, and also to keep them in our prayers, to keep them in our hearts, and to wish that, to hope, to pray to God that we would never have to meet again in such circumstances, that we would always meet again in celebrations of joy, in celebrations of peace, and celebrations of mercy. So if we would like to perhaps take a concluding remarks from some of the members of the audience who would like to share some of their thoughts, you can share them from where you are, of course. We have, yes, Jeff.
Thank you and greetings. I have said a lot of words since Friday, but this evening I want to take this opportunity to speak a little bit more personally than I have. I've said a lot of angry words since Friday. I've spoken about Islamophobia and about white supremacy and about anti-Semitism and about misogyny and how our city is certainly no stranger to any of these, how they are all insidious. I served one term on city council, and I'm thinking back to a few years ago when this mosque and some of our city's synagogues and the Parkdale United Church were desecrated with swastikas. And I asked the community to march with me. And Catherine McKenney was with me. We led hundreds of people from the mosque down to Plant Bath. And it was really joyous to see the community come together that way to demonstrate how profoundly sad, but also how defiant we all felt in the face of some of these societal pathologies that we suffer. The other night, I received a note in the wake of some of my comments about bigotry and Islamophobia from somebody who told me that, I needed to look for the real bigotry in society. And the real bigotry, I probably didn't have the guts to call out the bigotry of Islam itself. He didn't hate Muslims, but Islam was bigoted. And I received this huge email that must have gone on for pages of really banal, horrible things. Such a hateful email. And the reason I want to bring the comments a little bit more personal this evening is because of the way that made me feel. And the way that made me feel was angry. And the way that reading those comments made me feel was violent. I wanted to seek revenge on this person. I wanted to do violence in this world in order to stop these various pathologies that we have. Because I know our Muslim and our Jewish and our Christian and all the other faiths. I know our neighbors in a really interesting and privileged context. I'm a frequent visitor to the mosque here, and oftentimes it's for things like an iftar dinner, and there's various protocol events. But I also come to talk about zoning and the city budget and garbage and parking. The same things that I talk about with everybody. And I have a very different understanding of the community around this mosque than many others do, because I know in my heart that they are simply neighbors. And so I feel that anger when somebody writes to me. But I think back to that march when hundreds of us as a community came together to denounce Islamophobia and anti-Semitism and white supremacy. And then this evening, when I take a look at the notes that have come in from the community, just absolutely wonderful. These notes and this support and this coming together take away those feelings of anger. They help me to focus on what we all need to focus on, which is the love in our community. So this evening, when I take a look at people from all walks of life who are here this evening, and when I think about the Pittsburgh vigil that I attended just a few months ago, and the people from all walks of life who attended, and I think about the people who marched, I feel that love. And that helps me to overcome the anger. And that's something that I need, and I suspect it's something that we all need. So this evening, I hope that we'll conclude on that note. Love one another. Be generous with one another. It is the only way that we're going to counter the hate that's in the world. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that. Thank you.
Just a quick update. We have Sister Halima Saeed. She's a board member here. She was running late. I'd like to invite her to the board. She was actually in a meeting with Right Honorable Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and that went over time. She will share some of her thoughts, and she will take questions and messages and inshallah make the concluding remarks herself. So thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace and blessing of God be upon each of one of you. Thank you so much for coming. My sincere apologies. I had to really drive quite fast from SNMC to be back here as we were waiting for our Honorable Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who came there to show his support for the community. So thank you for your patience and my apologies.
Okay. Not over the speed limit, though.
No, never.
No, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. We've had some very good and generous, beautiful thoughts. If there were any messages that you wanted to share with the audience, and then we can...
Sure. So the Honorable Prime Minister, there was announcement was made that he was going to come and meet the community, but we had no idea he was meeting with youth in the basement for 45 minutes. So he had a very good discussion, and my daughter was part of that discussion. She said they had a very, very good one-on-one, quite open discussion with him, so that is encouraging. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I tend to have not very strong voice.
That's okay.
So the youth did express their concern, and I'm also a member of United Muslim Organization of Gatineau, Ottawa, and what we are hoping is that the government is going really to look at this event, and as sad as the tragic it is, we are hoping it's going to be a catalyst for change. And one of the things that was very encouraging to me was Prime Minister, he said we need to address Islamophobia. So if this is not the right time, I don't know when is the right time. We did convene Saturday night quickly, rather Friday night, and one of the things that we are hoping as Muslim community is to make sure that we are working with our communities, we are working with our especially local community, Mr. Jeff Lieber, who has been a great support of our community. Really, really sincerely thank you. That to really work together and come up with a solution on how to tackle this issue is a really big issue, quite bigger than we think we know. It's a huge money-making machine, and how are we going to engage the community, starting from with our own community, the Muslim community? Go out there, get to know your neighbor. You know, let's go back to the basics. You know, if there is your neighbor forgot to put the garbage on the curb, just put his garbage on the curb. Those are the things that are going to make us stronger, so that when we hear this sort of just fear-mongering message or uncontrolled social media sort of feed of Islamophobia, we can just sort of just know, I know my neighbor Muhammad is a very good guy. So these things kind of do not make sense. So that is our hope, and we are very encouraged by the support from the community. When I've been quite busy since Friday, I had these beautiful 2 kids at the front with heart. These are very young kids who felt compelled to come and support the community. So those things are the things that are kind of a driving force behind us, and we are asking for the support within the community that Islamophobia is a problem for the whole country. Is a Canadian issue. When a single community is being attacked within the country, then that is not an isolated issue. We should all stand for justice. Not only when Muslims are attacked, we should stand for that. We should stand for, black issues. We should stand for the indigenous issue. We should stand for all issues that are human rights issue. And we will work with anybody who is going to help us to tackle this. And we pray to God that we're never going to wake up to this new again. And as a parent, I was, Friday morning was quite busy. There were messages coming in from all over the places, from the OMA, from families, and then it was quite a busy morning. And then I had to hush my son who had a PD day, and I said to him, Ahmed, okay, we have to go to the mosque right now. And it was around 10, 11. He could not understand why so early. Friday prayer is not is at this time. And I said, oh, there have been a shooting. And he was playing video game, and he looked at me, what do you mean? I said, there's been a massacre in New Zealand where many Muslims were killed. He looked at me, puzzled, and he said, but why? I could not answer that question. I just couldn't. So we are dealing with this issue with this kid, and after that, when he came to the mosque and he heard the story, it started bothering him. That's not right. This is a 10-year-old kid. This is a 10-year-old kid who already knows there's something wrong about his religion being attacked. So these are our kids, these are our future kids, and our Muslim teenagers are really, really struggling right now with their identity. They are Canadian, but yet they feel that they are not real Canadian because of their belief. And I'm not just saying that as a cliche, I'm saying that as a parent. I know this issue exists. So we are really going to hold our politicians accountable to ensure that really they are going to act on this issue. This is a problem, huge problem for all of us to work together as a community, and we are welcoming any suggestion. We don't know how this is gonna, it's one of those things that you call upon action. And I'm not expert on tackling Islamophobia. I'm just one of the community member, a mother with children who is concerned for the safety of her kid, who wants to do something for the betterment of everybody. So needless to say, we have been addressing, we made it very, very clear to the politician that we would really want them to act on what they've said. Prime Minister have started by stating that we have to address Islamophobia. We all have to work to address that. And hopefully maybe 10 years from now, we will look at this and say, yeah, those were horrible times. That is my hope. Now it's my honor to invite the City Council, Ms. Catherine McKinney, to please come and share her thought with us. Please come in.
Thank you, and thank you for welcoming me here tonight. I also have an 11-year-old actually at home, and on Friday when I explained to her why I was coming to the mosque, she thought for a second. She said, you know, we really think we've evolved. You know, we think that there's no slavery anymore, and women can vote, and we've got gay marriage. But some people's hearts never evolve, and I'm not sure why that is. And I've been thinking about that over the weekend, because in my world and in my friendships and in my community, in my neighborhood, I see and I experience a tremendous amount of love. And when I look at the work that different people do, and the work that you do here, and the work that, you know, we have Karen here from Parkdale Food Center, and we've got neighbors, and we've got people from different communities, and we really all are here because we love each other, and that's what we want to show. So I thought over the weekend about what is our role, and I am a local politician. I'm not yet the Minister of Environment. Not yet the mayor either.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. But what is our role? And we do all have a role to play, and as politicians, we do have a leadership role. And I think that it is very important for us, and Jeff, my colleague, touched upon it, and I started to do it this weekend too, because Islamophobia, the same as anti-Semitism, misogyny, homophobia, is such a sewer to step into. And it's difficult to step into it, and I've been on the receiving end of it for a lot of my life, and I understand that it can be very difficult. But we need people outside of our own community to take part in that for us. And I think that there's a lot to do. I'm also not an expert in how we combat it, but we have to, and we have to start talking about it. But at the very least, we have to call it out publicly. And when we see it, especially in social media, we can't just let it sit there anymore, because that is air, and it just feeds that, and it's like an acceptance from the rest of us. So my commitment to you is that I will continue to combat it. I will continue to fight on your behalf. I will continue to work in the community. But what I ask back is that we just continue to have that heart, that our hearts do evolve. I do believe that. And that we continue to show the love, as Jeff said, in that march that we took part in a couple of years ago. Everybody came away from that feeling like we're one community, and I think tonight is similar, but it's very unfortunate that it happens under such horrific circumstances. So I look forward to coming back under much better circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Ismail, and I'm a neighbor of this masjid for 20 years, and I'm a volunteer of this masjid, and I would like to share tonight a guidance from our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a statement, authentic statement. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to his companions, who will take these words and apply them, or knows someone who will? One of the companions by the name of Abu Hurairah said, Aisha, the Messenger of Allah. Thereupon the Prophet ﷺ, may Allah be, in the peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, said, he took his hand and enumerated 5 things. Number 1, he said, avoid the unlawful deeds and you will be the most religious of people. Number 2, he said, be satisfied with what Allah has given you, and you will be the richest of people. Number 3, he said, treat your neighbor well, and you will be a believer. Not a Muslim neighbor, a neighbor. And you will be a believer. Number 4, he said, love for others what you love for yourself, and you will be a Muslim. And number 5, he said, avoid excessive laughter, for too much laughter kills the heart. This was narrated by Ahmed, authentic statement by our Prophet. This is the guidance that we share in this masjid.
Thank you so much. Allah is Thank you so much, Sheikh Ismail, for the beautiful reminder. 2 weeks ago, or in my mind, I was traveling for several weeks, so 2 Friday sermons ago, I think that was a month and a half, I gave here was on the rights of the neighbor. And I said in the beginning of that sermon was, it's part of a series I've been giving of sermons on reviving rare manners, things that are mentioned in the Quran or from the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, that have either died out or become scarce. And I talked about the quality of caring for the neighbors. They said that to start with, the challenge here is that in Canada the bar is very high. Being a kind neighbor is the norm, and standing out in excellence towards the neighbor is something that is actually a challenge to do. I've had neighbors clean out my driveway when I was sleeping in on a Saturday morning, and I don't even know their name, and it's very embarrassing that I greet them, and that courteous good mornings and greetings and asking, and when I'm busy trying to scramble the kids to get them out to school or daycare, is there's little time to reach out. And we look at some of the messages from the times of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They would, if they don't see a neighbor for 3 days, they considered it a sign that it was time for them to go and visit and check on them. So So if they didn't see a neighbor, if they didn't see them come out, or they didn't see them come to the mosque, or they didn't see them pass by, whether they're Muslim or not Muslim, there are many, many traditions where the Prophet, peace be upon him, he used to have a Jewish neighbor. The hadith is authentic, is in Bukhari. He used to have a Jewish neighbor that he used to see the kid come out and play. And then he missed him one day. He didn't notice him. So he went and knocked, and he found the kid was very sick, and visited and prayed for the child and for the family. And so the lesson is that we have to revive that. It has become somewhat a rare manner. I mean, being good neighbors is the default, but we need to be more proactive in reaching out to our neighbors, in checking on them. Of course, always a warm meal is more than welcome. I get very happy whenever I get that. It can speak volumes of deliciousness. Oh, sorry, I'm hungry. It can speak volumes of kindness when something like this happens and somebody reaches out. But it's a message that there hasn't been a religion sent from God except with treating the neighbor as one of the most critical components. And whether you're politicians or whether you're community leaders or whether you're religious leaders, you know that the community starts from the smaller circle of the family and then builds from the smaller circles of connecting to the closest homes. And so this is very, very important, a message I remind myself and everyone here to care for your neighbor, to reach out. There sometimes people are left to feel in the gap of loneliness or the gap of sadness or sorrow. That cannot be resolved without being proactively to reach out to check on them. Again, would like to reiterate how thankful and grateful we are. We'll give the remarks to Said Ghadban, but did you want to leave a remark, a question? Yes, absolutely. Alhamdulillah. Here, right here.
Thank you for having us here today. Last night, my 6-year-old daughter asked me, "Mama, why does God allow people to make bad decisions?" When we were talking about what happened in Christchurch on Friday. I'm a Christian woman, and I want my children to grow up knowing about Islam and other important religions. And I was wondering what I could do as a Christian woman to teach my children about Islam and to honor that faith and to respect and love their brothers and sisters.
Thank you so much for the question. It's a beautiful verse in Surah Al-Hajj, chapter 22. Don't ask me what the verse number is right now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ لَهُدِّمَتْ صَوَامِعٌ وَبِيعٌ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدُ يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا. Had it not been for the divine law of the divine law of the opposition between good and evil, then many churches, synagogues, temples, and mosques in which the name of God is remembered frequently would have been ruined. And the verses were revealed after a defeat that the Muslims have taken in a war. And it was words of consolation from God that every crisis that happens, what comes out of it is bringing people stronger in their faith, bringing people standing together, more united, and be able to re-establish their connections and reforming their society and whatnot. The talk about why evil happens is a very long theological talk. It's the simplest that can be explained. If we can't explain it to a 10-year-old, then we can't explain it to ourselves. And the simplest thing we say is that if, in the classroom, if the teacher gives rulings and the people and the students do not follow these instructions, and then something wrong happens because of these instructions, then The teacher is going to say, I told you so at the end of the day. Fortunately, God doesn't stand there and tells us, I told you so, but gives us chances for redemption. But what it says in the Quran that وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَيَعْفُو عَنْ كَثِيرٍ in Surah Ash-Shura, chapter 43, verse, I also forgot. It's in the 30s. But there's no catastrophe that has inflicted you on earth except because of something you have done. But God pardons many more. That God protects many more catastrophes from happening. Also, God says in Surah Ar-Rum, ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ لِيُذِيقَهُمْ بَعْضَ الَّذِي عَمِلُوا وَلَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. That corruption emerges on the side of the sea and on the land as a result of the corruption that people have brought onto themselves, so that God can show them a small taste of what the consequences of their action, and in hopes, God says, and in hopes that they may reform and return. So this is usually the message that we bring it to people, is that this is we don't question a lot about why evil happened. Rather, we take something that's practical. What can we do to prevent this evil from happening again? And I think this beautiful message here from everyone that have shared tonight is a very reassuring sentiment about how Ottawa is standing strong in the face of these difficult times. As Jeff has mentioned, and as Catherine has mentioned, that these things that we have lived through them, we have seen them in this city, and because we stand together, this is the only way for us to march forward and to get past beyond them. Thank you very much, and I'll leave the mic to conclude for.
What can she say to her daughter?
Oh, well, Alhamdulillah. Was that message not too difficult to reach out to your daughter, inshallah ta'ala? What we do is that we do have programs every weekend in this mosque. Since last October, I believe I've received almost 24 different schools, almost nearly every Catholic school in the city, because of their religion class. They reached out this year a lot more active than before, actually. Last year we had like a few schools. This year we had almost every single one of them. And schools would come, sometimes even home parent networks would come. So home parents or even foster homes who have Muslim kids, or those who have kids that they have friends who are Muslim, and they would come to the mosque and they would arrange, I'm available here every day because I have no life. And so we conduct numerous classes. Sometimes we would have 5 classes in the week. Tours of the mosque, introduction to the history of Islam in Canada, introduction to the building of this mosque. This is the 2nd oldest mosque in all of Canada, the oldest in Ottawa. We give them a history about the community coming together, also the history of the United Church here. We actually have messages here from people from the United Church, messages of support. And so this is something that we reach out and we welcome any community members, whether it's a small family or a school or a home class or whatever it is that they want to come and educate their kids, get a tour in the masjid. We have a lot of play programs. We actually have on Tuesdays, we have a mini-me, I think, mommy and mini-me or something, whatever it is. It's a beautiful program for a drop-in for toddlers that happens, I think, every other Tuesday, and we do it with SNMC, the one in Barhaven, so 1 week here, 1 week there. I'm not up to date in all the programs as I'm trying to catch up with all the issues, especially in the last couple of weeks. But generally, you're more than welcome to reach out, to bring your daughter in anytime at the mosque, and we'd be more than welcome to have any of you, all of you, as many times as you wish. 7 days a week. This mosque opens for what, 18 hours, 19 hours, 20 hours? 20 hours a day. The doors are unlocked. We plan to keep it that way, and the doors are open, inshallah ta'ala. Anyone who has anything, you're welcome to come anytime. Thank you very much, and I'll give the conclusion to our former President, Ghadban.
Just to reiterate on to the brother, the rabbi, I am also a son of an American immigrant. I immigrated to Canada back in 1956. I've been part of this association since 1962. Right from its inception to what it is today. The neighborhood that we are in right now, it took us a while to be accepted But alhamdulillah, thank God, we have been accepted by our neighbors. We go out, we meet them. If there's any functions, we have the sisters who go out during Ramadan and we hand out cards and stuff like that, also around Christmas time, just to show our gratitude to them. I myself, I grew up in Centertown. Growing up in that area, they were all immigrants. Whether you're Italian, Greek, Portuguese, Lebanese, whatever, they all lived on that same street. But they all looked after each other because they didn't have nobody else. And it took them a while for the people of Ottawa to accept us, and thank God they did. I believe I'm also the same as the brother rabbi here, that it took a while to be accepted. And back in the day, it was safe. You can not lock your doors at night. You can send your children to the park all day and not have to worry. But now you have to lock your doors, keep a tab on where your child is, and so on. I believe that this city will eventually become that way with the help of Jeff and Catherine and the rest of the city councillors. Put a lot of pressure on our MPs to make it safe for us. Like the Imam said, that this door is always open. It's open for Open Doors Ottawa in June, and we are right now, we are 5 out of 5 stars for what's happening here when they come in, and a lot of people don't know what's inside of a mosque. And they come in and they're amazed. They all are given a copy of the Quran in English to read. That, I think, is a good stepping stone for your daughter, okay, to start reading on it. The more they read, the more they're going to know about it. It's the same with our children. We try to teach other faiths also to get along, whether you're Jewish or Catholic or wherever. We are all the same people. We all come from the Prophet Abraham. We will all be together till the end of time. So, on the closing note,
I'm sorry.
We have some refreshments in the back. Help yourselves. We'd like to call Mohammed to say a closing dua, please. All right.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم افتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة. اللهم إنا نسألك عمل الخير. اللهم اجعلنا من أهل الصالحين وأهل التائبين. اللهم اجعلنا ممن كان من أهل الجنة ونعوذ برضاك من سخطك. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك أن نكون من أهل النار. اللهم إنا نسألك الخير كله عاجله وآجله ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله وآجله. اللهم احشرنا مع النبيين والصادقين والصديقين يا أرحم الراحمين. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
جزاكم الله خيرا. الله يبارك فيكم. No, الله يجزيكم خير. الحمد لله. جزاكم الله خيرا. Thank you so much. And to conclude, there's food in the back. There's there's some gestures from the volunteers of community of the mosque. Jazakumullah khairan, may Allah bless them. We have coffee, there's dates, and there are free copies of the Quran in English. Is that, I think? I see somebody waving them. Yes? So there are free copies of the Quran. There's water, dates, and some coffee. I see other stuff, but you can go and explore, mingle and talk. And thank you so much again for coming. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.